Trail Talk Tuesday. It just so happens that I've been doing them on Tuesday. I don't know why. I guess it just works out that way. All right, today we're going to talk about my little debacle in Maine. So far, these have all been negative. Trust me, there are positive ones. So we're in Maine, and we just left Munson, Shaw's Hiker Hostel in Munson. A guy named Poet and hippie chick, they run it. So amazing hostel, very famous hostel. Like, I mean, if you're on the AT, it's almost a must stop to go there, right? And so, and that was the beginning of the 100-mile wilderness. So we basically we paid them $40 each to transport in some food for like halfway. Or no, actually, I think it was a 40-mile mark, which we were at the second day. And on that second day, we had got to our food drop. And we were hiking alone. It was just Roadrunner and I at that time hiking together. And she's fast as lightning, so she just goes on ahead sometimes. Most of the time in the 100-mile wilderness, we hike together, but not on this day, not on this particular day. I don't know why that was. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So I'm coming up and, oh man, I tell you, never again, I won't listen to people. Anyway, so I'm coming up to what I knew was going to be a very difficult water crossing. And I saw a rope and a bunch of guys. So there was a bunch of guys on the other side. I saw the rope and I saw big rocks and I thought, perfect. Because whenever I do a water crossing, I make sure that I'm using the rocks to block the current if the current's very strong. And this current was pretty strong. It was thigh high at least. So you could easily, get knocked over. Not saying that happened, but so anyways, I get over there, and so I decide just this particular time, and I don't know why. Oh, I do know why. I had brand new shoes. I was like, nah, I'll just switch to my Crocs. So I'm sitting there on a little rock, and I'm changing shoes, and I'm what I thought was pretty dry. So like, you always run that risk of going for a little bit of a spill. And that earlier that day, I had taken my power bank and put it into my fanny pack because I was charging my phone with it. My phone was in bad shape, the battery, you know how they go when they're old. And so I was charging it. So I had my battery bank, I had my little pocket camera, I had my that could have been in trouble pretty easily. So I go across this water crossing, but I'm talking. These guys are yelling at me from the other side, and they're like, no, don't go there. Don't go where the rope is. Go over here. It's much easier. And I'm like, really? Are you sure about that? And oh yeah, no, it's way easier. We just walked right across nothing. And there was no rope there. There was no like big rocks to block the current or anything. And yeah, so I went across. And not only that, but I'm like, okay, well, if it's that easy, hey, boom, let's do this. You know what I'm saying? So like here I am filming it, and it's all on the videos, right? And so off I go, and I swear I bet you I didn't even have 20 feet left to go across. And it happened so, it was almost like, whoa, slow motion, right? And so, like, you're going over, you're going over, you don't have your footing, the current is just strong as hell, and bloop, over I go. Well, guess what? I had forgotten all about the battery bank in my fanny pack. I'd forgotten about the little pocket camera, which is like $1,000. A couple other things I forgot. Oh, my watch. I had an Apple watch at the time, I think, and they all got destroyed. Right, and I was just on the other, and these guys are laughing at me. Right? Oh, and my trekking poles and Waldo, my hat, poof, right off down the river. Right now, there is an upside to this, and I'm going to just give it to you real quick. And what that is even though I lost that, so now I couldn't charge my phone. I don't know if you ever get your phone wet. Like, they're good in the water, But if any water gets into the little charging port, like the little thunder or whatever you call that, lightning cable, it took 2 days for it to dry out enough and allow me to charge the phone. So that kind of sucked. So anyways, I get into camp that night, and we talked about it and so on. And I said, well, what am I going to do? I mean, I'd like to at least have some trekking poles. I have a trekking pole tent. That night I had borrowed trekking poles from another hiker. So we both agreed that I would call, and I did. I called Munson. I called Shaw's Hiker Hostel, and a guy named Buddy said to me, he goes, okay, I'll tell you what, there is a farm that I can get to if you want to hike a couple miles off trail. I can meet you up there and bring you like new battery banks, trekking poles. He brought shoes. And the best part, he brought us both a thermos of coffee, a big, big coffee. And it was a cold, miserable morning. And I think I was happier to see that coffee than just about anything else, right? So thanks, buddy. Appreciated that. Of course, that later on, after that, when we went to get our food drop, and Buddy had forgot mine. I'd forgotten half of mine. It's still back at the hostel. He had to drive back to the hostel to get it. He wasn't real impressed with that. He wasn't real happy. But I am grateful that he went back. Anyway, that's my little story about Shaw's Hiker Hostel in Munson, Maine. That's where the sequel happened. Bax, that's another story we'll talk about. But anyway, thanks for listening to these silly little stories, trail talks, and let's go get it.